Mr. George Gershwin, the man who made an honest woman out of jazz. Still in his early 30s, he is already a legend. Millions of words have been written about him and his music. Millions of his fellow citizens have caught the richness and vigor of the rhythms he has made, and in him they have found a bright reflection of their own eager age. As his principal commentator puts it, he has built a new music compounded of grace, vitality, and dignity. So much for the Gershwin legend. Tonight we want you to meet the young man himself. So pardon my rather lush enthusiasm, George, and take an opening piano bow for our audience here and on the air.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've just played for you my personal arrangements of Fascinating Rhythm and Liza. I've played these two tunes so many times at parties that I've naturally been led to compose numerous variations. The sort of thing every composer does when he is called upon to manipulate his own stuff over and over again. You just heard the results. At Rudy's request, I'm going to play for you something decidedly different in mood and tempo, a sort of blue lullaby, one of my 3 piano preludes.
One who has himself been newspaper interviewed practically into a coma, I've always cherished a desire to try the other end of the job and to do a little interviewing myself. So this afternoon I cornered George, asked questions very much at random, and took notes. I tried to think of questions you might ask yourselves if you had the opportunity. For instance, George, here's the query all composers encounter 3 times a day. When you work with your brother Ira, which comes first, the words or the music?
Usually the music. I hit on a new tune, play it for Ira, and he hums it all over the place for a while until he gets an idea for the lyrics, and then we work the thing out together.
Are you working on anything new right now, George?
Yes, Ira and I are working on a new show called Pardon My English. The thing is already in rehearsal, and we're still trying to finish the score.
What contemporary American composers do you most admire?
Jerome Kern and Irving Berlin. Both of them have been very helpful to me. Incidentally, I believe Kern's Showboat score to be the finest light opera achievement in the history of American music.
And I agree with you. Tell me, how did you get your start in music, George?
Well, I left high school to take a job as a song plugger at Remix for $15 a week.
That's 45 less than I used to get. Remember, I said I was going to ask questions any member of the audience might think of. How much money do you make now, George?
About half as much as you do, Rudy. How much is that?
1/3 as much as I told you this afternoon, you lie. Now, look, George, let's remember we're artists after all. One more question. Which of your show tunes do you prefer yourself?
This one, Rudy.
Music by Gershwin. This program comes to radio headed by George Gershwin, America's leading modern composer, who brings us an intimate review of present-day music. This program, sponsored by the makers of Phenament, the delicious chewing gum laxative, will be heard twice weekly, Monday and Friday at this same time. Under Mr. Gershwin's guidance, we shall hear his own melodies and those of other leading composers and go behind the scenes in the fascinating world of music and the theater. As to Mr. Gershwin himself, we need hardly add that he is famous as a pianist, a composer, and a man of the theater. Writer of the famous Rhapsody in Blue, of Thee I Sing, and countless individual melodies and pieces, together with no less than 37 musical comedy scores. Mr. Gershwin occupies a commanding position in several creative fields. It is now the great privilege of Phenament to introduce this vital, interesting personality, Mr. George Gershwin.
Good evening. Don Wilson said that these programs were to be intimate reviews of modern music. I'm afraid that's a rather large order. Personally, I should have felt safer if he had said that the programs were to be informal, for that is certainly what my part in them will be. I want you to feel as though you had simply dropped in at my house or I at yours to run over a few tunes that may have given us pleasure. As a starter, we ask the orchestra to give us the overture from Of Thee I Sing. I'd like to tell you the inside story of the tune we're using as a radio signature. It's called The Man I Love, and you may have recognized it at the opening of the program. This tune was written 10 years ago, and about this time we did a musical comedy, Lady Be Good, featuring those delightful performers, Fred and Adele Astaire. Imagine my discomfort when the tune received such a lukewarm reception in Lady Be Good that we felt obliged to take it from the play. But my spirits rose shortly after this when Lady Mountbatten asked me for a copy of the song to take back to England. Soon, Lady Mountbatten's favorite dance band, the Berkeley Square Orchestra, was playing The Man I Love. It wasn't long before all the dance bands in London had taken up The Man I Love. Strangely enough, I now had a London song hit on my hands without being able to sell a single copy. But I now felt The Man I Love was worthy of a place in any score I might write, so in 1927, when we brought out the first version of the musical comedy Strike Up the Band, this melody was again introduced. And again the melody met with scant success. Apparently, The Man I Love just lacked that thing so far as theater presentation was concerned. However, its out of the theater popularity continued to grow, and after considerable success in London and Paris, The Man I Love was sung in New York by an artist who has been almost directly responsible for its American success. I refer to that remarkable personality, Helen Morgan. So now I am going to ask Mr. Katzman and the orchestra to play this number for you, and if nobody minds, I shall attempt the piano part myself.
I shall meet him Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe not. Still I'm sure to meet him one day, maybe Tuesday will be my good news day. He'll build a little home just meant for two, from which I'll never roam. Would you? And so all else above, I'm waiting for the man I love.
I don't see any good reason why we should be concentrating on my tunes to the exclusion of all else. And on future programs, we're going to play some music of contemporary composers. For instance, on Friday, we'll play the prize-winning composition of Rube Bloom's Song of the Bayou. But right now, I want to play for you a composition of mine that brings up the pleasantest memories. It's I Got Rhythm from a show called Girl Crazy. Maybe you saw it a few seasons ago. Again, I had the pleasure of working with my brother Ira, who supplied the lyrics. Anyway, let's try it. In just a moment, we will play for you a few bars of the song which I'm going to feature on our Friday night program. But first, Don Wilson has a word for you.
George Gershwin, presiding over this program of modern music, presented for your entertainment by Phenamint, the chewing gum laxative, brings us the spirit of the day in which we live. Modern life with its complex problems, its progress toward better times. Scientists everywhere are at work to make life better and more comfortable for all of us. In the field of medicine, for instance, great advances have been made on a subject which affects the health of millions of people. Clinical studies and experiments on both adults and children have conclusively shown that the best and most effective manner of taking a laxative is in the form of chewing gum. And the modern scientific harmless laxative is Phenamint. Remember, chew your laxative, and you will understand why over 15 million people have chosen Phenamint.
The melody we're playing is Swanee. In Friday evening's program, I'll tell you all about it. Meanwhile, may I say that I've had a very good time this evening, and I hope you feel the same way about it.
This is the National Broadcasting Company. Music by Gershwin. This intimate review of modern music features George Gershwin, America's leading popular composer. The program is presented by Phenamint, the delicious chewing gum laxative, which is recognized as the modern scientific laxative and used by over 15 million people. Here's important news on a subject of vital interest to everyone listening. Phenamint, the delicious chewing gum laxative, has a thorough scientific background which is the result of careful and unbiased clinical research. Many investigations conducted by specialists in the field of internal medicine have revealed this important fact: a laxative does its work most naturally and effectively when taken in a form in which it can be chewed. Phenamint is thorough and dependable. You may give Phenamint to every member of your family, for it is non-habit forming, and both children and adults are delighted with its flavor. Try Phenamint yourself and find out what a big difference chewing your laxative makes in correcting constipation. The orchestra plays Mine from Let 'Em Eat Cake.
Good evening. This is George Gershwin speaking. The orchestra has just played my song, Mine. Tonight I'm going to play you my latest composition, which I wrote a few months ago down in Palm Beach, Florida. This is a composition in the form of variations on a tune, and the tune is I Got Rhythm. I think you might be interested to hear about a few of the variations we're going to play. After an introduction by the orchestra, the piano plays the theme rather simply. Like that. The first variation is a very complicated rhythmic pattern played by the piano while the orchestra takes the theme. Against that, the orchestra fits in the tune. The next variation is in waltz time, and the third is a Chinese variation in which I imitate Chinese flutes played out of tune, as they always are, like this. Next, the piano plays the rhythmic variation in which the left hand plays the melody upside down, while the right plays it straight, on the theory that you shouldn't let one hand know what the other is doing, like this. Then comes the finale. Now, after all this information about variations on I Got Rhythm, how about hearing it? In Of Thee I Sing, John P. Wintergreen ran for the presidency on a love platform. Very soon reports came in from everywhere that love is sweeping the country, which of course we put into a song. Here it is.
In just a moment, we'll hear from Mr. Gershwin again. But first, we have a scene of real life for you. Two traveling salesmen are chatting in a hotel lobby. One is an old-timer and the other a youngster on his first trip.
Well, Charlie. How'd you make out today?
Oh, pretty good, I guess, but I don't think I was cut out for this traveling business, Mr. Jones.
You don't, eh? Why, what's wrong?
Well, with all this jumping from town to town and riding on trains and buses, I just can't watch my diet, and the result is that I feel pretty rotten most of the time.
That's not so good.
Yeah. You see, my trouble has always been constipation, and I'm particularly anxious about it right now because I've never been able to find a laxative that agreed with me.
Is that so? Well, it's about time you got wise.
Huh?
You take a tip from an old-timer and find out about Phenomene.
Phenomene?
Yes, sir, Phenomene. That's a chewing gum laxative, and the flavor is great.
Well, I guess I can chew gum all right, but how effective is this Phenomene?
Oh, don't worry about that. Phenomene's thorough. And don't worry about upsetting your system either. Here's what I found out from our pharmacist back home. When you chew something, you're assimilating it in a natural way, a laxative or anything else.
Right, of course.
Ever since I heard that, I've relied on Phenomene, and I found it's true. I don't mind traveling on trains or by car or how irregular my meals are. I'm okay, and it's all due to Phenomene. Now, look, there's a drugstore right here in the hotel.
Huh?
Why don't you go over and get a package of Phenomene right now?
Say, I'll do that, and thanks for the good advice, Mr. Jones.
The tune now being played by the orchestra is Wintergreen for President, and it's also from the musical satire Of Thee I Sing. This tune, along with Cuban Overture, will be featured in our next show Friday at the same time.
Our intimate review of modern music is headed by George Gershwin, America's leading popular composer. The orchestra is under the direction of Louis Kaplan. The program is presented by Phenomene, the delicious chewing gum laxative. Don Wilson speaking. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
George Gershwin is conducting and will announce these portions of his new opera Porgy, recorded for the first time and played for the first time.
We will start with the piano solo at 5 bars before 9, because the piano has a solo lasting about 2 minutes, which we will not waste time with now. 5 bars before 9, scene 1. And now we go to number 56 in the first act, which is a song called A Woman is a Sometime Thing, and which will be sung by Mr. Edward Matthews.
Love you and mourn you, but a woman is a sometime thing. Yes, a woman is a sometime thing. Your mammy is the first to name you, and she'll tie you to her apron string. Then she'll shame you and she'll blame you till your woman comes to claim you. Oh, a woman is a sometime thing. Yes, a woman is a sometime thing. Don't you never let a woman grieve you just 'cause she's got your wedding ring. She'll love you and deceive you, then she'll take your clothes and leave you. Oh, a woman is a sometime thing. Yes, a woman is a sometime thing. Yes, a woman is a sometime thing. Yes, a woman is a sometime. Then now what I tells you, he's asleep already.
And now we will play a little bit of the orchestra part of the finale of Scene 1, Act 1. What number? What is it? 156. Number 156. 156. Ready? On 156. One flat. Ready? Now we have a song by Miss Ruby Elsie in the second act, Scene 1, called My Man Is Gone Now. I'm sorry, it's in Scene 2, Act 1.
Oh,
And now we'll have the duet from the first scene of Act 2 of Porgy, sung by Todd Duncan and Bess, who's played by Ann Brown. Number.
That's 95.
All right. Right up. 95.
95 in Act 2, Scene 1.
And please give me 3 bars before, by Shelley. 3 bars before 95 in the same scene. Ready? 4. Don Marco.